Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and boy, the hypocrisy in this town just gets better and better. Why is it different that Joe Biden had classified documents in his possession years after he was vice president, but it is the scandal of the century that former President Donald Trump had documents at Mar-a-Lago? Well, the answer is I actually have no idea what the answer is. Actually, the answer is that Trump's documents were more secured because they were monitored constantly in a building that was secured by the Secret Service. And oh, by the way, he was president, so he could declassify everything. Neither of those things were in play with former Vice President Joe Biden, with his documents sitting in a closet somewhere. To sort all of this out is Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, who, by the way, sits on the Oversight Committee and on the Judiciary Committee. So, Congressman, your life just got a little more interesting, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did, Larry. And with this declassified records being improperly stored by Joe Biden, it will be very interesting to see how we proceed on that, because good grief. I mean, and not only that, the CCP gave $54 million to the University of Pennsylvania, right? I mean, that's where this is housed. So is there a linkage somehow? I don't know, but let's find out.
I wanted to take you there because this is one of the things that was stunning to us this morning as we were talking about it on my radio show. This was all part of the Penn Biden think tank, we're told. That's where the documents were stored. Congressman Biggs, we've been in this town for a while. There are think tanks everywhere, and the whole point of a think tank is to get your name out, you know, to try to make a difference. I have never heard of this thing. Ever. That's never, and somehow they got over 50 million from the CCP. What is going on over there?
Well, it looks like, I don't know, this is quid pro Joe maybe. I don't know what you've got going on here. And think about this too. I mean, the words think tank associated with the name Biden, I mean, that's ironic in and of itself, is it not?
But, that's fair.
But we got to get to the bottom of it, because you know, I guess they've appointed some guy out of Illinois to be the investigator here.
Yeah.
But
can you help me out with that one too, Congressman? Because Attorney General Merrick Garland has already named a special prosecutor, a special investigator, I should say, more technically, to oversee the Mar-a-Lago situation with President Trump. Why wouldn't he just give this to the same special prosecutor? It's the same circumstances. It has to do with the same law. It's same archive. Except for the fact that it appears that Donald Trump is treated very differently than Joe Biden is by this Attorney General.
Well, of course, that's the bottom line. This is, they really would love to get former President Trump any way they could, but they don't want to touch Joe Biden. I mean, and Larry, let's add this to it, because apparently this was known before the election. Holy smokes. And so while before the election you got this the world is on fire, Mar-a-Lago, they're showing up with 20, 30, 40, 50 agents to investigate and raid Mar-a-Lago. They're going through the former First Lady's sock drawer, for Pete's sakes, looking for stuff. And then all of a sudden, we find out that they knew this about Joe Biden and this think tank, and they suppressed it again, just like the Hunter Biden laptop. So. Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's amazing the things that leak out of the Justice Department when it has to do with a Republican or President Trump, for that matter. But then this is locked solid. Nobody gets a leak. Which brings us to another investigation, if I could, Congressman Biggs. There's going to be now a select committee specifically to look into the politicization of the FBI. Are you concerned, first of all, about the makeup of that committee, the size, the budget? Are they going to have enough resources and enough influence and power to actually go after the deep state?
I'm told they're going to have enough resources. They're going to have a lot of researchers and staff, investigators, et cetera. I think that's important. I am a little dismayed at the ratio, because I think the ratio is too generous to the Democrats, who basically have undermined everything. I was going through my records this morning just to compare and get a feel for what the Democrats, remind myself, because I've been on those committees, as you know, since I've been in Congress. And the reality is they were holding every 3 weeks a hearing on Donald J. Trump throughout the spring and summer, fall of 2019. And the ratios that were always put in place in all these committees that the Democrats were were not very generous to Republicans, and the Democrats controlled the membership of those committees. Now, I always said we're going to be fairer to them, but I meant that we'll let them pick their members to come on. But I do think that we need a stronger advantage numerically on that committee. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a pretty solid committee.
Let's get back to that astounding stat that you just gave us, and you've got the records. You're right, because you were on those committees, Oversight, Judiciary. Every 3 weeks there was a hearing on Capitol Hill about Donald Trump, an investigative hearing. Because they're already building the narrative right now in the media, and the Democrats are saying these Republicans, all they want to do is investigate Biden, and they're not going to do anything for the American people. At the very least, are Republicans going to hit the bar that the Democrats have already set as the precedent here every 3 weeks?
That's exactly why I decided to pull this up, Larry, is because it seems to me that we need to just follow the historic precedent that the Democrats set for 4 years when they controlled Congress. And that is they're attack dogs. I mean, you start going through this, it's just amazing. You think back, most of us have forgotten about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and McCabe. We forgot about that. We forgot about the Inspector General listing literally hundreds of times that they abused the FISA process. Look, it seems to me that we have got to hold them to the same standards. If we don't have accountability, the pendulum is so far to the left. If we don't have accountability, I don't think it swings back to the right, nor does it ever come back to the middle and give us a good place for Americans to be going forward.
Congressman Biggs, yesterday a whole host of rules passed the new Republican majority, and I know you had a hand in insisting on many of those rules. This really was the successful outcome of the challenge of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Can you sort of give us a quick thumbnail of which of those rules I think are most relevant and most important to you for the 118th Congress?
Well, I think it's important that we opened up the floor, so there's going to be more amendment process, the germaneness, which is going to protect us against the Senate abuses, the single subject rule, which is what should be there, the 72-hour read the bill rule. All of those are, in my mind, those are baselines, okay? That's just where we should be.
Just so everybody knows, single subject rule is so important. That's one of those things where if they're passing hurricane relief, they can't throw Ukraine military aid in there at the last minute, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. I felt it needed to be beefed up a little bit more because with germaneness, you've got a point of order. You actually have a process for remediation if they abuse that. And we're a little short on that remediation process with regard to single subject.
Okay.
But I also think the appropriations process, a restoration to bring back the appropriations process where you're doing 12 bills, you're actually going forward, you're doing a cut-go type of thing. And so if you're going to spend money, you got to find a way to cut money from another program or process. That, I think, is really huge and will require a lot of fiscal discipline and help us get back on track budget-wise.
And all is forgiven, right? Everything's okay. Kevin McCarthy's Speaker and everyone's friends, and we can move forward now. Great. This is great.
Sure.
They're even letting you on TV, Congressman Biggs. This is great.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for continuing to be the tip of the spear on so many of these important fights for the American people. Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona. There's more to come. Keep it here. It's Salem News Channel, and you're watching O'Connor Tonight.